This will be one of them ones here today, all right? We don't really see this outcome, but today you will. So guys, listen, buckle up and watch this content because the payoff will be immeasurable. Title of today's video, Judge exposes mom's coaching to the kids, poisoning the well, and then she loses custody. We really don't see in these family court cases the man attaining primary custody unless the young woman is walking into the courtroom with a damn needle hanging out of her wrist, out of her arm. We really don't see it unless that's the case, all right? But not only that, but then he also gets child support on top of that. And again, it's after she was caught live and direct in the courtroom, and the judge called it out that she was manipulating the kids. Simply a fascinating one here today with a lot of learnings. It's a little bit longer, but we must get active without further ado. So I'm gonna let the introduction play so you can learn the cast of characters. I'm gonna try to summarize this as much as what I possibly can. If you guys wanna watch the full content, I'll put a link to it in the description. But let's go.
All right, is there anything preliminary that the court needs to take up prior to getting started?
Just my other witness that's here is the current wife, my client.
Okay.
So she's accepted from the rule in case of being excused.
Okay.
He's remarried.
Counsel, are you invoking the rule?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So let me get her to state her name. Ma'am, would you please state your name?
Yes, Mashika Bravo.
My man upgraded.
Thank you, Ms. Bravo. So at this time, the rule has been invoked, meaning that you would have to remain outside of the courtrooms if you were physically here. So you would have to remove yourself from the room that you're currently in and go to another room. You're not allowed to watch this live stream
She's looking down
on YouTube or have any conversation with anybody related to the case. And once you are called to give testimony, then Attorney Salazar will make sure that you get into the room.
Okay.
Well, I'm assuming because of the way that you all are set up, your husband will let you know when it's your turn.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just notice the body language from the old Miss Bravo. She hates the new young lady that adorns her old last name, or I guess her current last name. But let's continue. By the way, the judge that is presiding over this case, Judge Vonda Bailey, that may ring familiar to the audience, and you would be right. Let me pull her YouTube channel up on here. This may look familiar. Support Court with Judge Vonda B. I've actually gone over cases over her YouTube channel previously. So although I believe that the court cases on her channel are scripted, apparently she's an actual judge. Let's return to the content.
The issues that I see before the court are conservatorship as well as possession and access. And you all have come to an agreement about the amount of child support. Is that correct?
We are asking for arrears. And for our medical support, my client's insurance has gone up a little bit, so we were requesting an adjustment for that. But
okay. All right.
So essentially, the ex-wife is just asking for two things at this stage: to modify the child support that she is receiving, and she wants any arrears that have accrued from the father to be paid in full. We're going to skip to her attorney's opening statements.
Your Honor, this case is about the children's best interest and stability. Bianca Bravo has always been the children's primary caregiver. She gets them to school, coordinates their medical and mental health care, and actively advocates for their education, securing one daughter's placement in a pre-collegiate program and the other's enrollment in a STEM program. When her daughter struggled with anxiety, Bianca sought help. When her living situation became unhealthy, she moved out, stabilized her home, and relocated the children to a better school district, all while working multiple jobs. Every decision she made put the children first. David's conduct shows a very different pattern. He has resisted mental health care, refused tutoring during his possession, and prevented school activities when they conflicted with his schedule. Where Bianca adapts her life to meet her children's needs, David expects the children to adapt to him. The litigation history matters. Bianca filed this case to secure mental health care for her children. David responded by seeking primary custody. When temporary orders limited his control, he pursued a de novo hearing. When that failed, he filed a motion to modify the temporary orders, which was also denied. This escalation is not about the children, it's about control. There's no evidence these children are unsafe with their mother. The evidence shows stability, progress, and advocacy, and disrupting that would not serve their best interests. For these reasons, we ask the court to deny respondents' requested relief and to enter orders that preserve stability and protect these children.
Thank you, counsel.
Long story short, father bad, Mother good. I don't know why the father wants to now have the children in primary custody of the children. All right. Meanwhile, I don't know if y'all picked up on it, but the kids are being evaluated for their mental health or need like additional mental health care. I wonder what is the trigger for this mental health, but let's not judge too early. Let's see what the ex-wife has to say.
Attorney Salazar,
I'm going to hold for closing, Judge.
Attorney Franklin.
Same judge. I'll hold for close.
Okay, all right. Attorney Hardy, you may call your first witness.
I'd like to call my client as my first witness.
All right, you may proceed.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Bianca C. Bravo.
And are you the mother of the children subject of this suit?
Yes.
How many children do you share with David Bravo, the respondent?
2.
What are their names and ages?
Jasleen Bravo, she's 13, and Zarina Bravo, she's 10.
And did you initiate this modification suit?
Yes.
And why did you feel it was necessary to ask the court to intervene at that time?
Because my daughter's anxiety was escalating to the point that it was affecting and impeding her learning and physical health.
So what symptoms or behaviors were you observing relating to your daughter's anxiety?
Impeding her learning, difficulty concentrating in school, emotional deregulation, daily concerns from teachers, and daily visits to the nurse.
And did you inform Mr. Bravo about these concerns?
Yes.
And how did he respond when you raised them?
He immediately denied it and suggested that I was lying.
And did he support recommended counseling or treatment?
No.
And what position did he take instead?
Again, he immediately denied her having any anxiety and that he felt that I should give him full custody and pay him child support.
And did you request a temporary orders hearing so that you could obtain treatment for your daughter's anxiety?
Yes.
And what did the court order at that hearing regarding your exclusive rights?
That I have exclusive medical and psychological rights for my children.
And since receiving that authority, what steps have you been able to take to support your daughter's mental health?
I reached out to Genesis. Both my children have individual and family counseling. I was able to get my second daughter that was diagnosed with anxiety disorder, her formal diagnosis. Then I took that diagnosis to the educational diagnostician with the school district. Then we were able to get her an IEP formally to where now she has school psychology every 6 weeks per grading period, per the IEP, per the IDEA.
And have you observed changes in your daughter since receiving consistent mental health support?
Significant positive improvements, yes.
Okay.
And are you asking the court to continue granting you exclusive decision-making authority over your children's medical and psychological care consistent with the current temporary orders?
Yes.
Okay.
And are you also asking for exclusive decision-making power over the children's educational decisions?
Yes.
Why are you asking for this?
Well, as an educator and a mother, I have consistently prioritized my children's educational needs and their development, enrichment opportunities. And here surrounded their school environment. David has denied all advanced tutoring opportunities and has no interest in their academic planning or educational future.
Okay. It's starting to get good because these accusations are serious and heavy, and it's starting not to look good for the young man, even though he hasn't defended himself yet. But with assertions of the kids are in some type of mental health crisis, but he doesn't think so, doesn't think that there's anxiety. But let us not also forget that she has primary custody, which means that she's the majority of these children's daily lives, their routine. She builds the environments, what they're doing, their emotional development, and all of it is failing under her watch. If there are behavioral issues to this degree, and with both of them, it may be in the environment that they're living in. That's the first place that I would look if it's something that they're not born with. But for some reason, the father is being blamed. Interesting. Now I'm going to save you guys like the next 10 minutes because it's just her talking about how amazing that she is. She now has stability in their life, that they're now more educated, more emotionally supported, and that the father now wanting primary custody is going to disrupt all of that. Now in this next part, she slips out an allegation, and then the man's attorney starts, and he starts to cook. He starts to charbroil, to be honest with you. So we're going to enjoy this.
And during this litigation, Mr. Bravo was ordered by the court to take a drug test. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what were the results of that test?
He tested positive.
And have you been reimbursed for the cost of that drug test?
No.
And how much did you pay for that test?
$310.
And are you asking that he reimburse you for the cost of that drug test?
Yes.
And are you also asking the court to grant everything that's requested in your requested relief?
Yes,
And do you believe that all of your requests are in the children's best interest?
yes.
I'll pass the witness.
All right.
Thank
Attorney
you.
Salazar.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. Isn't it true that actually your children have reported that they've been mentally and emotionally abused by you,
Uh-oh.
causing them anxiety and confusion?
I'm going to object as to argumentative.
I believe that's what's in the custody evaluation.
Right.
Overruled.
No,
So you don't believe if they said that's true?
no,
Oh.
But is it true that you have spoken negatively and in inappropriate ways regarding their father and their stepmother?
no, never.
So even though the children reported it, you're saying that they'd be lying at that time?
I'm saying that I did not say any yucky things or ugly things about them.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever used physical discipline to the children that's been brought to the attention of the counselors and CPS?
No,
So CPS was never notified by the counselors to come and speak to you regarding physical discipline of the children?
not my two children, no.
So you're saying right now CPS you never talked to CPS about your children?
About my two children, no.
So if that were in the report, you're saying that CPS contact is a lie, is not true?
The CPS is closed. The case is closed.
Okay, but so CPS did investigate, is that right?
No,
Now, isn't it true that when the children come back from visiting their father and their stepmother, that you do interrogate them and wanting to know what happened and what's going on over there?
no, never.
Isn't it true that when the children did an interview in preparation for the social study, that afterward you interrogated them and wanting to know what was discussed
She's a monster.
and what they said?
No,
So if the children were to have reported that, are you saying that the children were lying?
I'm saying that I never had that conversation with my children.
So if it was reported, you're saying that's not true?
I'm saying I did not have that conversation with my children.
Okay.
Isn't it true that Zarina's afraid of you because you become angry and physical?
No,
Isn't it true that you yell at the children?
no,
Isn't it true that you get angry or become hostile to them if they start to talk about their father and how much they love their father and their stepmother?
Uh-oh.
no,
Now, you said that you're the one that went to get mental health care, but isn't it true that it took a while for you to go out and get them help?
no,
Now, isn't it true that part of this health care is due to the fact that your oldest daughter, Jasleen, started to cut herself?
I was already in the process of getting her counseling prior to that anyway. She already had counseling services.
Okay, but your daughter does have a history for a bit of time of acting out by cutting herself in her arm, is that right?
She does not.
So you're saying she never cut herself?
She had one incident and David was contacted. The crisis line was contacted. Her current counselor was contacted. The school counselors were contacted. Everybody was contacted in order to help her that very day, and it has never happened since.
She's screaming for
And
help.
in the past, isn't it true that you've had a pattern of withholding the children from visiting with their father?
No.
And are the children currently in therapy?
Yes.
Okay. And who are they in therapy with?
They have therapy with Genesis.
Do you know the therapist's names?
I have, what am I supposed to divulge
You can
information?
state the therapist names.
Okay. We have Chandler, and then we also have Navia.
And isn't it true that the father also is responsible for taking and dropping off and picking up the children whenever they have therapy when they're in his possession?
No,
So you're saying the father doesn't take them to therapy?
no,
Have you ever had any kind of mental health diagnosis yourself?
no.
Have you ever been to a therapist yourself?
Yes, I have for domestic violence.
How about mental health?
That is a part of my process.
And have you ever been diagnosed with any kind of issues such as depression or anything like that?
No, just helping me with my domestic violence caused by being a victim in this marriage.
Now, you mentioned a drug test that you want to get paid for. That was from from 2 years ago, 2023, is that right?
3 years ago.
2023? Yeah. And that's the only one you had to pay for, right? Or that you paid that you want to get paid for, right?
Reimbursed based on what the court had deemed him to do so.
All right. And there have been other drug tests but the other drug tests come back negative, is that right? That you're aware of, or you're not aware of?
There were no other drug tests.
Now, in your requested relief, you're saying that you want the stepmother to play no role in these children's lives as far as, going to school or picking them up and dropping them off. Is that right?
I'm going to object as to a misstatement of the facts,
It's the requested relief, Judge.
but that's not what's in there.
Okay, sustain, rephrase.
I'll rephrase. So isn't it true that you're asking the court to order that only you and your husband communicate regarding parenting matters regarding the children?
I don't have a husband,
I'm
but
sorry,
I would,
the father.
but I would like for David and I to remain the co-parents and the ones making decisions together, yes.
Okay, but you're also, in that same request, you're asking that step parents or third parties not contact the children's schools, medical providers, therapists, or any other extracurricular providers on behalf of the other parent. Is that right?
They don't have any educational or parental authority to do so. So if I can't contact the school, then I should be able to reach out to David and vice versa. We have to be able to co-parent.
Well, don't you think that puts the kids in a bind if, like, for example, if they have practice gets out early and they need to contact somebody and to contact the dad and he's working, that the stepmom could be able to go pick up the children? Wouldn't that make sense?
But wouldn't it make sense for me to do so? I'm the parent just as much as he is.
So like I said, are you objecting to the stepmom having any involvement with the children or regarding aspects of children with school extracurricular activities?
I'm objecting to her not having educational authority and or rights.
Now,
Wait,
also
what? How in any way is that educational rights by having the stepmother who's in a position to pick up the kids simply pick up the kids? The same kids that provided horrendous information to CPS, which she's currently denying all of these different things. But he's reading directly from the CPS case file. This sounds more like she's trying to be in control of the kids' lives, even if it's not in their best interests. Let's proceed.
Asking the court to order that the children not call their stepmom mom. Is that right?
That's right.
So you want the judge to order these children who may want to call their stepmom mom that they can't do that. Is that what you're asking?
They have a mom.
Pass witness, Judge.
All right,
Oof.
Attorney Franklin.
Yes, Judge. It'll be brief. Ma'am, you understand in your requested relief, you made a request for a judgment on the arrears that are currently owed on the case.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you understand, or are you aware the previous order did require payments for current child support as well as current medical and a prior order for dental?
Yes, ma'am.
And so do you understand, because of that, the Office of Attorney General would also be requesting a judgment on arrears for the child support, medical support, and dental support?
Yes.
All right. Are you in agreement with the state requesting judgments for those amounts? Basically, it would be 3 separate judgments for child support of $666.26 as of December 31st, 2025. Are you in agreement with that? A judgment for just the child support arrears?
And then medical support on top of that.
And then medical support on top of that, yes.
Okay, and the medical support judgment would be $556.58.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's also a dental judgment of $95.17. Are you in agreement with that?
Yes.
And then just for clarification, as far as the health insurance, and I know you all agree to that, is it private health insurance through your employer?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right,
I have some additional questions for my client.
go ahead.
Just to clarify, there was a CPS case that was open during a child custody evaluation, is that correct?
Yes,
But it didn't pertain to the children subject of this suit, is that right?
that's right.
And it was ruled out, is that correct?
Correct.
Also, do you ever tell your children to advocate for themselves?
Always.
And do you think that this could be misconstrued as telling them what to say?
Yes, I try to advocate for them whenever they would return back from their dad saying that he made them cry, yell, would put his wife in front of them before their feelings, hurt them emotionally and mentally. So I would try to advocate this was their opportunity to have a voice whenever they did get to speak to the evaluator,
This is
that
crazy.
this is your time to say, like, these are all the things that are going on. I just want you to feel like, know that you have a voice and somebody is willing to hear you.
That sounds like coercion. Allowing your kids or wanting your kids to advocate for themselves and misconstrue that with you putting words in their mouth. Those two things are not even close to the same. Sounds like they're using the word advocate in order to soften the blow of what is actually happening here, which is putting words in the kids' mouths in order to paint him as an abuser. Even as the attorney attempts to do this, it's like she's fighting with her back completely against the wall, because this right here is just a lob pass into nothingness. Yeah, right. If that all you got, that means that your artillery is low. All right, let's go.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Counsel, you may call your next witness.
I was going to just one more question to the mom.
Okay, go ahead.
Uh-oh.
So you did discuss with them about participating in the investigation regarding family court services, is that right?
Not participating, no, just letting them know we had a meeting to meet with them.
Okay, all right, thank you. No other questions, Judge?
All right. Counsel, you may call your next witness.
I will call Mr. Bravo.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Bravo, what change are you asking the court to make regarding custody?
I'm asking to be the primary caregiver.
And please describe your current job and your typical work hours.
Typical work hours are Monday through Friday, generally 8 to 5 p.m. And I work for packages for FedEx.
And on a regular school day, who would be responsible for taking the children to school?
It could vary, but more than likely it'd be my wife.
And who would be responsible for picking them up?
Her as well.
And what role does your wife play in helping the children's daily needs?
Daily needs, really everything. She feeds them, clothes them. She'll pick them up from school, like we talked about, pick them up, drop them off. She has a lot of benefits with her job, so through that they've been in counseling. But it's a general overall good relationship.
And are you aware that your wife contacted the school regarding your daughter's participation in the security program?
And that's it. Can you repeat that question again?
Are you aware that your wife contacted the school regarding your daughter's participation in the security program?
The only thing I'm aware of is when she went to pick him up and my daughter wasn't ready in the pickup line. That was the only contact that I was aware of.
Okay. And what did your wife tell the school about your daughter continuing in that program?
Objection here, say Judge.
Sustain.
And have you ever told mother that the girls can't attend their weekend tutoring when they're in your care?
No, I'm not even aware that they were enrolled in tutoring.
Okay. And when the children are with you, how are they able to communicate with their mother?
Through my cell phone, through App Close, the app that we use.
And are there times when the communication doesn't occur?
There's times.
And you were required to submit to a nail sample drug test, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was the result of that test?
A positive for marijuana.
And have you completed any substance use treatment or assessment programs since then?
No.
Okay. No further questions.
All right. Attorney Salazar.
But the kids are experiencing here, and I'm leveraging what they said earlier about the father and as well as the stepmom, because they actually like them, is a two-parent household that is stable, right? With mentally sane adults. But let's listen to the father's concern about the children staying with the mother. Let's go.
What concerns do you have with the children continuing to live with their mother?
The main concern is their mental health and well-being.
When you say that, what specifically, what kind of behavior have you noticed from them that makes you concerned for that?
Extreme anxiety, which led to my oldest daughter cutting herself, and also pulling out her hair. I forget the
Jeez.
term for what that's called, but their anxiety is.
When you first started, did the mother bring this to your attention in any way?
No.
How did you discover that your child was having issue? Which child is it first to begin with? Which child was having these issues regarding the cutting and the hair?
Our oldest, Jasleen.
Okay, how old is she right now? And how old was she when she first started?
She would have been 11.
Jeez.
And how did this come to your attention that she was having these issues?
When we would pick her up from my possession weekends, they were always pretty anxious to come over. But as far as seeing the cuts over the course of the summer, we were swimming and I saw a lot of scars on her legs and arms.
At 11.
Did you talk to the mom about what you saw and what she was going to do about it?
It wasn't really a conversation, but I did ask about it.
Okay. And what happened after that?
Well, I immediately put him in counseling. I wasn't aware that they were going to counseling or getting any treatment at all from the mom. So I took it upon myself to put him in counseling.
What counseling did you put him in?
It's through online counseling, Spring Health.
Okay. And how long did that last?
It's still current.
Okay. And is there any cost involved in this?
Yes.
How much did you pay for a pre-session?
Well, we get 8 free per year, and then I believe they're $30 a session after that.
Okay. Are these costs covered by your wife's insurance?
Yes.
And what's the children's current counselor right now? Do they have counselors?
Yes. Jasleen's is named Jessina Tom, and Zarina's is named Vanessa Navarrete.
Okay. And they're still continuing this counseling?
Yes, they attend or they phone call once a month.
Okay. And since they started this counseling, have you noticed a difference in the children?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now, even though they're still in counseling, are there any issues that you have with the mom continuing with having these children live with her?
Yeah, I mean, almost on a bi-weekly basis when I have possession of them, there's always some kind of issue going on where there's a lot of anxiety living over there and a lot of complaints about their mom and how she treats them.
And do you bring this to the attention of counselors as well?
I have an hour meeting with the counselor, but I'm not aware of what conversations happened between the girls and the counselor.
Okay. So what's attitude as far as the girls' conversations with the counselors? Have you ever sought any kind of involvement with them, or what's been your position?
No, I mean, whatever they want to tell me, but I let them have their private time with their counselor.
Okay. With respect to any therapy that the mother has for the children, has the mother ever asked you to participate in any therapy with them or any counselor with them?
No, she's not made me aware of where they were going and who the counselors are or any treatments.
Okay. And have you physically taken the girls to any kind of other therapists other than the online therapists?
No, just online.
And regarding your that you've seen, how's the reaction to your wife as far as them spending time with her?
They have a great relationship, very open. They talk about a lot of things. She helps them with a lot of things as far as being young girls growing up and preteens and being teenagers, helping them with their relationships at school and their school subjects. And
do you believe that the raises an issue regarding changing schools and friends? What's your position as far as changing schools and friends versus your position that you want to have full custody?
Well, as far as changing schools, I mean, they've changed schools 5 or 6 times since kindergarten, so there hasn't been any consistency there. But if things were to change, I would let them finish out their school year and probably move into a different school that has the same, if not better, opportunities.
Okay. Right.
Reasonable.
I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, state.
Thank you, Judge. Again, it'll be really brief, but quick question. If you're asking the court to award you primary custody,
Yes.
would you be requesting mom pay you current child support?
Yeah, sure.
You're in agreement with mom continuing to provide the health insurance through her employer?
No, I would probably put them on my own personal insurance.
You have it available to you through your employer?
Yeah, through my employer and also my wife's.
Is that medical and dental?
Yeah, medical, dental, vision, and
You
mental
want,
health.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your last part.
Medical, dental, vision, and mental health. Yeah.
Okay. And you understand that the Office of Attorney General, we filed an intervention in the case specifically requesting a judgment on the child support arrears that are still owed on the case. Do you understand that?
Just now being made aware.
Essentially, we're requesting a judgment, but the difference between our request and what mom filed and her requested relief would be we request 3 separate judgments, meaning for your child support as one judgment, the medical as a separate judgment, and the dental support as a separate judgment. You understand that?
Yes.
All right. And so for your child support arrears, again, we're requesting the $666.26. For the medical, $556.58. And for the dental, $95.17. Are you opposed to any of those amounts?
No.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Okay.
All right,
I have a couple more questions, Your Honor.
All right.
go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Bravo, when did you first notice your daughter's the scars or marks that you mentioned?
It would have been the summer
Okay.
2023.
And were you aware that mom had the girls in counseling at the time?
No.
And when did you put the children in counseling in relation to seeing the
It would have been the following couple days, maybe a week later.
and how were you able to do that if mom had exclusive and psychological decision making?
Well, I wasn't getting any answers or information from her about putting them in counseling, so I took it upon myself as their father to do what's best for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no further questions.
All right. Anything further for this witness?
No, Judge, unless you have any questions, Judge.
Sounds
Attorney Franklin,
reasonable.
anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Attorney Hardage, you have 4 minutes and 52 seconds left. Attorney Salazar, you have 6 minutes and 12 seconds left. Attorney Franklin, you have 16 minutes and 59 seconds left. Attorney Hardage, you may call your next witness.
I don't have any additional witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, you rest.
I'm going to cross-examine Ms. Ortiz, but yes.
Okay.
I'm going to cross-examine Ms. Ortiz, but yes.
But yeah, that sounds reasonable. If the father's not getting any interactions from the mother in regards to counseling or therapy, then he took it on his own. When you notice something as serious as that happening with your children, it's code red alert. You got to do anything in your power in order to subvert what's happening. Anyway, we're going to get up to the best part right here, which is the family custody evaluator. The neutral ground here is going to give her real assessment and is going to carry some real weight within the court. So the claims and the emotions for now will take a back seat, and we're going to listen to the facts of a trained professional get tested. Let's listen.
Attorney Salazar, you may call your first witness.
I'll call Miss Anna Ortiz.
All right.
Hi, Your Honor.
Hi, you all can go ahead.
Please state your full name.
Anna Ortiz.
And Ms. Ortiz, what is your employment?
I'm a Dallas County Family Court Evaluator.
Okay. And how long have you been an evaluator?
Since April of 2025.
Okay. And you had an opportunity to be an evaluator in this case involving the children in family case?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you personally involved in the creation and the recommendations that are contained in the Family Court Services child custody evaluation, which was submitted to the court?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
I need to make a correction that I've been employed since 2024, April 2024.
okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. And this evaluation was submitted to the court on about April of 2025. Is that right?
That's right.
You made several, in part of your investigation, you were able to interview both parents,
Yes, sir.
and you were also able to interview the children with them also separately. Is that correct?
hmm
Yes.
The observation was not quite an interview, it was just an observation. And then I interviewed the children individually.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
Mhm.
Now, your recommendation after these interviews and your further investigation of all the other sources, can you please tell the court why you recommended that the father have the exclusive right to determine primary residence for the children?
With the understanding that Jasleen, being age 12, and her younger sister, at the time age 9, did not have a strong preference for either parent, but it did appear that in their best interest, based on some of the reports that they talked about mom, a lot of the mental health issues that are present in this case, school being affected, and conversations with their teachers, lengthy teachers regarding very strong concerns, including having to contact CPS regarding their health and mental health when in contact with mom, and the children's reports. All of those things together led me to that. But I do agree that the children need both parents as well as the stepmother.
Okay. And do you find that the mother has denied any the issues regarding that were brought up by the children? Do you find it concerning that the mother would deny and maybe say those are lies?
I do, because in our lengthy interviews, joint interview and individual interviews with each parent, as I said in my report, that she herself reported and self-reported mental health issues, diagnoses, anxiety and depression, previous abusive relationships, personal, family and interpersonal problems. And denying that the children reported these things. As you know, Judge, the children are that they can answer or not answer some of these questions, and they appear to be very genuine, very sweet, very intelligent young ladies, and very self-aware, and even requested more therapy with me, which not possible, but I am glad to hear that they're continuing their therapy. But I do find that concerning because that's something that I think out of the entire situation, not just mom.
Okay. And when you also investigated dad, you were also able to speak with stepmom. And what were your conclusions and findings regarding stepmom's involvement with the children?
Very involved, very genuinely loving towards the children. I believe they have a very great relationship, very close relationship. The girls both, huge smiles on their faces when talking about Mashika and just a loving home.
And your recommendation is for mom to expanded standard visitation, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have any of these other recommendations that you did changed in any way since you submitted your report?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right.
And I know that eats at the bio mom. That's why, I think in the beginning when the new wife was up on screen, the body language immediately changed. Why else would she be upset and try to mandate that the children cannot call the stepmom mom?
Attorney Hardage?
Yes. In your report, one of your concerns was Bianca's mental health. Is that correct?
Yes.
However, she told you that she sees a therapist and takes medication. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you did not speak with her current therapist before finalizing your report, did you?
No, ma'am.
Does that matter?
And you did not conduct the psychological evaluation yourself. Is that correct?
Correct. It was provided.
So you relied on the psychological evaluation from 2022 that was prepared for a different legal case. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in your report, you described Bianca as emotionally supportive, loving, and deeply involved in her children's care. Is that correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that those are strengths that reflect positively on her parenting?
Absolutely, yeah.
But in your recommendation, you didn't give those strengths a ton of weight. Is that right?
Correct.
And you also reviewed CPS records during your evaluation. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in regards to reports involving Bianca, you listed a single ruled out CPS case involving Bianca in your report. Is that right?
Correct. There was another with an alternative response related to the children.
But that wasn't listed in your report. Is that right?
It was listed under the CPS, but possibly not under the Holly factors, if I'm looking briefly, but it is under the collateral section for CPS.
However, in your concerns about Mother, you specifically noted that the school has had several CPS cases open against her. Is that correct?
Correct, because of those two. So when I list concerns, I obviously focus on the ones that would affect the children presently.
And despite the allegations being ruled out, you still listed them as a concern in your report. Is that right?
Correct.
And you also received documentation about a 2022 CPS allegation that David and his wife locked the children in a bedroom. Is that right?
Correct.
And can you explain why a ruled out CPS case was listed as a concern for Bianca, but another, ruled out CPS case was not listed as a concern for David?
I believe I'm not recalling the date on that. I don't know if it was more recent.
Okay, and you recommended that David be given the right to designate the children's primary residence, correct?
Correct.
And before the case, David had never been the children's primary caregiver, had he?
Only when the parents were together.
And in your report, you also noted that David reported a history of marijuana use, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you accepted his statement that there was no current use at face value, is that right?
I had not received any other, I was not aware of the drug, the fields at that time. So yes, at that point, yes, I did.
Okay. So you didn't require him to undergo any substance?
Not in my recommendations, no.
But would it be concerning if a parent was frequently using marijuana in the home?
Absolutely, yes.
And Mr. Bravo didn't seem to indicate that this was relevant?
He didn't indicate that it was ongoing.
And by contrast, Bianca's mental health, which she was very open about, was treated as a concern. And then Mr. Bravo's, substance use was not. Is that correct?
With lack of police reports or any other documentation or proof of that, I did focus on the mental health, which I've had a lot of collateral information on and self-report on, as well as the children and, like I said, references and teachers.
And how many teachers were you able to speak to?
I believe one was a written, and then Jaslene's was on the phone.
The attorney for the mom is not going down without a fight. I think she brought up two key points right there. The first being, hey, listen, how can you just include the already thrown out CPS cases that reflect negatively onto the mother, while in the same junction, one that reflected negatively onto the father was not included in your assessment or your report? Why is that? What's the discrepancy there? The second being the marijuana use. Right? The idea that she believed the father at face value, irrespective of what the drug test actually showed that he lied. Okay. Now, with all of that still considered, I think that the most that should be considered as a burden of proof should be what the children are saying or the assessments of the children. But let's skip on to the father's attorney's questioning and the best part of this whole thing.
I think Ms. Ortiz's testimony kind of sums up the issues we have regarding my client's concerns, mom. During my questioning, I asked her several different times regarding any issues on mental health, and she wouldn't know any of the issues, even regarding, she didn't mention past relationships, more implying that it was my client's fault. I think through this investigation, it's shown that she cares more about her image and what's better for her than the concern and welfare for the children. When the children are reporting to the services investigator that they have issues with mom yelling at them, abuse, mom sits back and says, "Well, they're lying. It's not true."
That's huge.
But the reality is that these children are suffering in the current situation where they need a more stable place to be able to live and to have support from a parent and even a supporting step parent, and that report, if they've expressed that they would like that. It's not that they don't want to be with mom. It's just the issue that mom is not providing that support that they need, and that also of not interfering with their ability to have their own thought process and to be able to have an escape to do when she's them. What did you say to the interview? What did you do this? Why? I mean, that's not productive to the child, and it objectifies the child to feel that this is going to be their fault in the future, whatever happens. And that's not what so that, and for a lot of other reasons that are stated here in this report, just we're asking the court to grant it. My client has indicated he's willing to keep them able to finish the school. It was not disputed that in the last 5 years they've had 5 different schools. Mom didn't come, she didn't.
Counsel, you're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Now let's listen to Judge Vonda ask some questions.
Okay. The court has a couple of questions. Ma'am, what was your issue with Mrs.
It wasn't necessarily calling the school judge. It was,
contacting the school, excuse me, contacting the school.
oh, yes, ma'am. So she contacted my daughter's teacher via Class Dojo. My daughter, based on good merit and grading, she was selected to be a part of the car line team at the end of the day, which she was super excited about. And his wife contacted the teacher saying that she was not allowed to do so because it didn't work with her schedule, that she was not informed about it, which I did contact David to let him that we're so proud of her and please encourage her. She told the teachers that moving forward, any communication needs to go through her, and that my child is her child. She has the only right and say. So that was the thing that was most to me, was that she wasn't taking into consideration what was best for my daughter, because as we know, when they're more involved with school activities or extracurriculars, they tend to do better in school. But just taking that away based on whatever her needs were definitely was disheartening. And then having to have that conversation with my daughter that she wasn't going to be participating because Ms. Shiga didn't want her to.
Okay. Was it, you're saying she didn't want her to, that's just what you're saying? That she didn't want her to, or could it be that it just was a conflict with scheduling for her because she does pick up the children?
No, and talking to my daughter's teachers, all Ms. Shika had to do was stay an additional 3 minutes, and she refused. Mm-hmm. And my first daughter gets picked up around 3:30, so she would have been done. She gets done at 3:20, so she would have ample time. And then my second daughter gets out around 4 o'clock, so she would have had between a 30 to 40 minute time frame. And my second daughter, her school is only about a minute or two from where my first, I got it mixed up. Sorry. My elementary school and the middle school they're only about a minute or two apart. So that it was not a conflict of any sort. It was just what she wanted, and she did not want that for my child, and made it very explicit in the messages between her and the daughter's teachers.
Okay. An opportunity to read the custody evaluation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. So the stepmom that is, without your interference, so loving, is so positive, constantly there for the children. She just didn't want the daughter to excel or to get rewarded in this way, not because it didn't conflict with their schedule, with her schedule, but because she just didn't want that. It doesn't make any sense. But this will be one of the last times that she has the opportunity to poison the well, as the judge is about to make her decision. Let's go.
Okay. Something that the court found concerning was specifically from both children. Let me find the page. I want to say it's around page 15 or 6. It's amazing when you're looking for something, you can't find it. But your oldest daughter reported that you disparaged dad and stepmother on a regular basis. And then the youngest almost mirrored what she said. I'm trying to see if I can find her exact wording. Hers may be easier because it was italicized.
With the children? Or no, was it at the interview with me, or when was it the interview?
The 9-year-old recalled on page 17, second paragraph, she is aware her parents do not talk to one another because they do not get along. She reported that her mother speaks negatively about her father and stepmother often. She recalled hearing her mother say that her father was not a very good person and that he was kicked out of the army. Did you tell your daughter that?
No, ma'am, I would never.
Okay, so the court has issue with the children reporting something, and then you're coming to court saying that you never said it. So it's either the children are being untruthful or you are being untruthful. So I'm giving you the opportunity to say, which one is it? Is it that your children are not telling the truth, or is it that you're not telling the truth? Because these children are different ages. They were interviewed separately. And they said almost the same thing, not that specifically about him being a bad person, but both of them reported that you speak negatively about dad and stepmother, and that they, referring me saying they is father and stepmother, never says anything negative about you all.
I understand, Your Honor, and I have read through it, and I am disheartened that at that time frame of when my children were interviewed, that was at the peak of when David and I were, when there was a lot of domestic violence happening. I do know when others were involved, such as
Yes or
his
no?
wife or my mother, the information was shared with them from him and his wife to my kids, so that when the conversations that I'd have with my mother about certain things, my kids were around.
Yeah, they talked about that too, that you and their grandmother argue frequently. So I'm going to ask the question
She
again
never
because
answered.
maybe you missed it.
Yeah.
Are the children being untruthful, or are you being untruthful? Because somebody is not telling the truth.
I'm going to tell you that I have never said to their kids that their dad is anything negative. However, I have said things where we don't get along. We struggle with co-parenting. There is a reason why we do have counseling with Genesis specifically. I do want them to feel like they can advocate. I do want them to recognize when abuse is happening. I have said those things. Yes, Your Honor.
So you do realize today, at least, that some of the things you have said to your children are inappropriate.
I apologize.
They can advocate for themselves without you saying anything about dad, and saying things like recognizing when abuse is happening. For a child, you're almost making them believe that something is wrong with their dad without saying it.
Yeah.
I'm a parent too. So I have to be careful what I say, especially around my 6-year-old, because she interprets things a lot differently than an adult would. So what I'm not saying are the things that I am saying. Does that make sense?
You're absolutely right. Because as an educator, I do understand that the way that I engage in any conversation or engage with whatever related topic there is, that I have to be more intentional. And you're absolutely right.
As an educator, you should have performed that to begin with. She appealed to this authority. Meanwhile, you'd never demonstrated the behavior. Interesting.
Then your youngest daughter also is concerned, these were her words, that you put a lot of blame on dad when a lot of it is you. This is what your children are saying.
I know. I know what it is that being said, but also, Your Honor, we do have to, for some reason, and I don't know why, for some reason, it was not added on there, the reasoning behind why my children and I have sought before all of us, initial support from counseling because domestic violence is happening. So we do also have to consider that my children are being manipulated and weaponized in a way that they don't understand, just as much as they don't understand the things that I say and take things in a different context. The same thing with whenever they're with dad, when dad manipulates the situation, makes things more chaotic, so then they feel that they have to interpret it and
where are you getting that from? Where are you getting manipulated? You use very specific words, manipulated and weaponized, because the report that I'm reading, that's essentially what they're saying you're doing, not dad.
I know.
And you said something else about things being in the child's best interest. You said this earlier on when you were talking about your daughter and the reward she was able to receive from school. So clearly you understand things in their best interest. They love their stepmother. You don't believe it would be in their best interest to have a healthy relationship with the both of you?
Right.
And referring to her as mom doesn't make you any less of mom?
Get her.
I would love to be able to have a co-parenting relationship with her. However, when I have reached out to her prior to, she called me some inappropriate names. Just recently, she was trying to start a fight with me for no reason during the exchange. It is though they have created some animosity and vindictiveness against me when I really want to try to co-parent with them. But you also have to remember, Your Honor, it is difficult to co-parent with an abuser. And I really am saddened that the evaluator didn't take the initiative to make sure that that was in the evaluation, because that was the whole intent behind it.
So, as far as the court concerned, you all are joint managing conservators. And for the modification purposes, and I'm not saying that whatever you're saying didn't happen to you, I'm not trying to discredit it. What I'm saying is by law, you all cannot be joint managing conservators if abuse has occurred. You all are joint managing conservators. And I can only go off of the history of the file because I've read everything all the way back to you all's underlying court order, the one that's currently in place. And it seems like these girls would be happier and would be much healthier mentally if you were not doing some of the things that you are doing. And I'm not saying that dad is perfect, because nobody is perfect. None of the parents on this Zoom are perfect. However, when you do things to kids to make them think that one parent is bad and the parent that you're trying to make seem bad is remarried, and you're also trying to make that person seem bad when they have a good relationship, you are contributing to the failure in communication and co-parenting. And as the judge, I have the task of making sure that I make rulings that are not only founded in the law, but that are in the best interest of the children. And based on the history of this file that I'm looking at, I do not believe it is in the best interest of the children for you to be the primary conservator, because as the primary conservator, I have to believe that that person that I designate as that is going to be the best to facilitate the co-parenting relationship. And I do not believe that is you. So what the court is going to do is the court is going to flip custody. The children are going to live primarily with dad, and they are going to do the expanded standard. And I believe that's in their best interest, because the girls said that they want to be with the both of you equally. They are saying to me through this report that they love both of their parents, and they do not like the breakdown in communication. They essentially don't like being put in the middle. That's what the court is going to do today, because that is in their best interest. You all are not to disparage each other at all in any form or fashion. The co-parenting app is there for a reason. It's there to assist you all, not for you to be codependent on it. That defeats the whole purpose of co-parenting. So, and I'm not going to order that these children do not call stepmom mom. I personally don't even like using the word stepmom, because you both are parents. Everybody is a parent. Anyone who takes up the parental role is a parent. I don't think that's in their best interest to do that to them, to take that away from them. They have a good relationship with stepmom, with Mrs. Bravo, and the court would like to see it flourish. That's healthy for them. Let me go back to the recommendation. I am going to grant father's request to order you to pay child support. Father is also going to have the right to designate the schools that the children go to. If I heard correctly, the children are going to finish out the school that they're in now, and they're going to start another school in the fall. It shouldn't be an issue, because his testimony was that they've changed schools frequently. There was no objection to that. There was no questions asked to anything contrary of that. The court is going to order that the children continue in counseling. I think it's in their best interest. It also wouldn't be a bad idea if you all attended some sort of family counseling together. Because at some point, you and Mrs. Bravo are going to have to work together. She is extremely involved. Based on the information that I heard, she is extremely involved in your children's lives. And you definitely want to have a relationship with someone who is that involved in your everyday life of your children.
Oh, she about to lose it.
No physical discipline of the children, either parent. Do the children, well, at least the oldest child, have a cell phone?
I believe so, Your Honor, on the mom side.
Okay, Mom, are you paying that cell phone bill? Okay, Dad, if you want to get the kids a cell phone, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm not going to order that the children speak with either parent when they're with you. If they want to call mom, let them call mom. They're old enough, right? But I'm not going to order anyone to do that. I just think that sets you all up to get you into more issues, and it's really not worth it. If you have to make a report to CPS, just make sure you all are doing it with good faith basis. Do not use CPS as a weapon. That's definitely not going to work with me in court. I also grant the recommendation from the state, the judgments as of December 31st, 2025, medical support judgment in the amount against father in the amount of $556.58, dental support judgment in the amount of $95.17, child support judgment in the amount of $666.26. Each of those are at $50 a month, sir. So if for any reason you're able to pay them off quickly or at one time, however you want to do it, that will fall off. Okay. You'll be done with that.
Okay. Just real quick, I'm gonna give a round of applause here for the damn judge for recognizing the well poisoning bullshit. I'm gonna let her finish just so you guys can conclude the case. This is not only a win for the father in this case, but for fathers everywhere that are dealing with some type of behavior, well poisoning behavior that he is experiencing here. The court did not move off of he said, she said. It moved off of receipts. It moved off of evidence. It moved off of therapy sessions and counselors, right? And those involved from a third-party perspective to give recommendations on the family. It involved CPS. It involved statements from the children as well. And all Judge Vonda had to do was to cross-reference all of those things and give a judgment that was in the best interest of the children. And it's clear that when you cross-reference these things, way more things didn't make sense and in fact were more detrimental to the kids that came from the mother's side. Custody at the end of the day is not about image or the upholding that you're a good person or a good mother or a good father. It's about creating an environment that provides structure, that provides stability, that would thereby reduce mental health occurrences that happen within children's lives. The father made one too many good choices within the couple of years that he's been experiencing all of this, and it culminated, and as well as having a fair judge, it culminated into this result. But this woman undoubtedly tried to weaponize the system for a while, but only for so long can you control the narratives when the documentation doesn't match the testimony. You just gonna just outright act like your children are lying? But let's finish up because I want you guys to see the rest of the information.
And sir, I am gonna order you reimburse mother $310 for that drug test.
Okay. Because you did fail it.
I am also putting an injunction in place that neither parent is to use illegal drugs.
Fair.
And that just doesn't go for today's court session. I mean, drugs are illegal, so don't use drugs. Mom's financial information. State, do you all have that?
I don't think we do, Judge. I'm looking now to see, confirm. Give me one moment, Judge. We may have it.
Oh, no worries. Dad, is there going to be any issue getting the children to school in the mornings?
No.
Okay. Because my ruling starts today. It doesn't start for the next school year.
Oh.
Primary, the children will be living with you primarily. Mom will have expanded standard.
Understood.
And you all will follow what the Texas Family Code says about the holiday schedule. Your attorneys can explain it to you.
Okay.
The mom about to lose it.
One of the children has a birthday coming up, right? February 10th?
Yes, the oldest.
Okay, on that day, according to the Texas Family Code, mom is allowed 2 hours and she gets both kids. On each child's birthday, she gets both kids. Now, it says 2 hours, but if you all come to an agreement to do something different, you're more than welcome to do that.
Okay.
Did you mention about the parenting app? Is there a specific one? Because I think we had requested maybe switching to Our Family Wizard, but I'm not sure. Because I think AppClose started charging or something
Oh
monthly.
yeah, they did. AppClose is a good app though, although they started charging, and I believe it's still cheaper than Our Family Wizard. So AppClose is fine.
So Judge, we do have her income information. It's only for the last 3 quarters of 2025 though. We don't have the 4th quarter of 2025 yet. So I can base it off of those 9 months, but it may come out a little bit more than what she actually makes. Because based on the 9 months, we have the monthly gross is $59.49. But again, this is only 9 months. We don't have the last quarter reported yet.
Okay.
I can calculate it based on that if I just get testimony as far as the health insurance and what that would be.
Let's do that. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, just to ask you, Ms. Bravo, so you have the health insurance through your employer? Oh, you have to answer out so I can.
Yes.
Do you know how much it costs you per month just for the child's portion?
Right now I'm paying, it just increased to $455. So if you divided that by 4 and then added 2, it should give you how much you make.
Gotcha. Okay, because it's 4 people on the plan.
That's right.
So that comes to about $226 a month for the health insurance. And do you have any other children under 18 besides the 2 in this case?
Yes, I do.
How many other children?
I have a 4-year-old. I have 1.
That lives with you?
Yes.
Give me one moment. So Judge, the child support at 22.5% would be.
She has another kid?
$1,056. Again, that's based on a monthly gross of $59.49. And giving her credit for the health insurance at $226 a month.
So this what we'll do. We'll set it at 1,056, considering that's all we have at this time. Attorney Hardage, when your client gets her W-2, if she would get that to the state, and then we can get the child support adjusted accordingly, that would be great.
Yep.
All right. Is there anything further for the record?
Nothing further, Judge.
Nothing further.
In these high conflict custody situations, ones of which the transition is from female to male, what I'm beginning to understand is, I think to a degree I knew some of this already, but the documentation and the consistency over time of that documentation is key. If odd things are happening, such as well poisoning, strategically, you got to play chess here. What are the ways that you can demonstrate that well poisoning? Because in front of a judge, in front of a fair judge, it will reflect way better on your behalf. And it's not about who is just talking better, right? Who's telling the best story, unless that story is subverted with the receipts over time. I also wanted to point out as well within this is that they both had lawyers. The utilization of the lawyer in the man's case was fundamental to winning this case. He absolutely cooked towards the beginning, which set the tone of her behavior, that she was utilizing the children as sort of a strategic leverage piece, and also was utilizing them as a pincushion or a punching bag for her own mental health issues. But all right, guys, listen, I told you that the payoff was going to be good. For everybody that says that men typically do not win in these types of cases, you can send them this case right here, because this is evidence of the contrary. But hopefully you enjoyed your stay here today, because I know that I did, and hopefully you learned something new, something that could benefit or aid you into the future. All right, guys, stay safe out there. I love y'all. Protect yourself at all times. And I will see you very, very soon. Until next time. Peace.